Hey guys, today we are looking at the British Paratroopers with pack howitzer from World War II by Waterloo 1815. This is a brand that I am not very familiar with. I do have another set in my stash which I think is Italian infantry from El Alamein or something like that. But this is the first set by this manufacturer that I'm going to actually attempt to put together. Now it says pack howitzer, that's a 75mm pack howitzer used by British Airborne Forces. They also use a 25-pounder. It's actually an American gun, and Waterloo do a set of American. An American version of this set, basically, with American infantry or artillerymen operating the gun. But I don't have that, so we're dealing with this one today. So the package itself, or the box itself, the box art's quite nice. In fairness, not bad at all. Fairly indicative of what actually is in the box itself. Poses are slightly different. The guy with the beret is actually kind of kneeling down, and the guy with the bike is actually riding the bike rather than trying to, I don't know, start it or whatever he's doing. And he comes armed with a Lee Enfield rifle, a number 4, rather than the Sten gun as depicted there. But these are small things, we're not going to worry about that. So basically the box itself, standard little kind of warnings, kind of reminiscent of the Armour Faster hat boxes. There you go, nothing much there, 15 pieces apparently, and the usual warnings about age restrictions and so on and so forth. On the back of the box there you get a list of all the various products that this company does. And it's quite extensive in fairness. Now they mainly do a lot of kind of Napoleonic kind of things, a little bit pre-World War II, so that's why I'm not very familiar with them. Indicates here you get 3 cannons, or at least they look like cannons, I don't know. But anyway, and 12 kind of figure pieces. I have heard tell that there can be variances in these boxes, so do be careful and just check it out, if at all possible, before you make your purchase. But as I say, I'm looking forward to having a look at this. Now it does come with instructions for the assembly of the gun, because the gun is not a cast piece or anything like that. You actually have to put it together. So let's have a quick look at the instructions, or at least what passes for instructions. I'm not sure if this is what's supposed to be in the box, but that's what I got. Complete with rips and tears. I mean, it's not really great as regards instructions, but at the same time, look, it's only a few pieces. I'm sure I'll manage to get it together without any major difficulty. I have heard that it's a little bit of a tricky assembly, but sure, look, we'll see how we get on with it, and we'll report back in the second half of this video. The sprues now, there's only 2 sprues, so we will look at the figures first, I think. I must say the detail on these figures is really nice. I'm hoping that the camera's picking that up. I mean, they really are kind of tasty. Just look at that, like the binoculars in the hand. You've got the kind of lanyard or strap for the binoculars, individual buttons, straps and things all visible there. And that guy, I'm presuming, is the gun commander or officer. Chap here looks like he may have a radio. Pretty good. You can see all the scrim on the helmet there as well, if the camera picks that up. I hope it does. Looks quite nice, good facial expression here. Then you have 2 guys who are armed with the 75mm shell, and a couple of spare shells there as well, which is nice. They look quite good too. Up here then you have the, I think it's M9A2 or M18 trolley, which was basically dropped with airborne forces for supplies and bits and pieces, and the only difference between the 2 was one, if I remember correctly, was maybe steel and the other one was aluminium or something like that. And then you have a guy here who is obviously dragging that. I again have heard tell that it doesn't fit perfectly, so a little bit of trimming might be needed. But I'm thinking I might only use one of those guys and might utilise him from a conversion perspective, because it is currently September 2018, and September in the War Games community from a World War II perspective is Arnhem and Market Garden. So that's what I'm doing here, putting together a little bit of a kind of a Market Garden kind of a setup. So we'll be using these lads. Over here, as you can see here, you have the well bike, as it was called, which is, I think it was 98cc, so you're not going to be tearing up the motorway on this thing, but at the same time, it was a handy little piece of transportation for the paras, and I suppose could be used for carrying a few bits of equipment and stuff as well. And there's the figure for that, so we'll see how good he sits on that bike. Again, I'll probably just do one of those, and might utilise the figure for a Jeep or something like that. I don't know, I haven't decided yet, we'll see. And then on the back of the sprue, here turned around there, you can see again, very nice detail on this guy. As I say, I might just slot a rifle into his hand or something, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Or maybe I'll use him as a guy actually activating the gun or firing the gun, because the other two guys, as you saw, they're just holding ammunition, and the other chap with the beret is kind of commanding the gun. So there's the back of the driver for the well bike. Details lovely, you can see the strapping and packing, backpack and all that. You can even see the threads in the tires if I can get down close enough with this thing, just about. And then the rear of these two figures here, the radio guy and the gun commander, we should call him. Very, very nice, really looks good. And here are the two guys operating the, or at least handling the ammunition. So very, very nice. You can see the netting in the helmet there. I hope that's picking that up there. It looks quite good, netting and scrim or whatever they call it. So really, really tasty, lovely little pieces there. Will match in well with most of the British Paratroopers that I'm going to be using for this project. I have a battalion for rapid fire purposes made up from Matchbox NATO Paratroopers converted rather roughly to World War II standards, so you check that video out and like and subscribe if you would, that'd be rather kind of you. And I do have a battalion of Esky paratroopers from a long time ago. I will do a review on them, but I don't have the box, but we'll get around to that another day. They're already painted, but we'll look at those when I have this little project complete. And a few Revell guys, they'll match in well with those also. And what else is there out there? Oh yeah, the artillery, whatever it's called, anti-tank teams. I have to do a review on those guys, and these guys will match in rather nicely with those chaps as well. I have compared them on the sprue off camera, and you'll see those when I put the battalion together. I'll show a whole lot of them together for you in subsequent videos. So anyway, enough of that. Let's have a look at the sprue for the gun and carriage and that. So as you see, it's a small piece, in fairness. I mean, obviously it was supposed to be. The Americans, as far as I know, tend to drop this by air or parachute, whereas the British tended to deliver it via glider. So it had to be small enough to fit into one of those what are they, horse gliders that the British used in that period. But as you can see, the pieces are lovely and clear, like the sprue with the figures on. No flash to see, so I'm just hoping this goes together as handily as it looks. Although I said I have heard that there's one or two tricky bits, but look, we'll crack on and see how we go. Lovely detail on the tires there even, so I'm really hoping that this goes together nicely and that it paints up well. So that is basically the two sprues. As I say, you get 3 of each sprue, but just be careful that you do actually get the 3. So look, I'll crack on with this, so stay where you are and I'll be right back. Take care, guys. Okay, so we're back with the finished figures. Didn't turn out too bad, I'd like to think. Hoping that camera is picking it up. Detail is pretty good in them. This is the guy, obviously the gun commander or officer, whatever you want to call him, with the binoculars and that. Looks fairly well, and usual story, flocked with a little bit of Hornby flock and based on a beer mat. Radio operator there, looks quite good. Helmet and that came out fairly well, if I can get it to focus. And then you have the guy with the shell for the 75mm gun. At the end of the line here we have the guy on the well bike, and he's okay. The bike went together no problem at all, yeah, fine. The arms are in a kind of a funny position there, and the reason for that is he's actually going to be put into a Jeep because I don't really have much use for the bike. But nonetheless, I may do another one and actually position the arms correctly for the bike. It's just I was thinking of using him as a driver for just an all-air fixed Jeep or something to tow the gun. So that's the well bike, and moving along there again, as I say, we have those guys. Here we have the guy with the shell. He looks like he's about to ram it into the breech of the gun there, if that'll focus for us. And then, of course, you have the little carriage there, little trolley, and you have the guy that can pull it. Now, you'll notice there I did them on two separate bases. Reason for that is that I'm not really going to use the trolley as such. I did put the rifle, the Lee Enfield, looks like an SMLE there with the kind of the older version of the, what was it, the Mark III, is it? Or Mark III Star perhaps, but anyway. So that guy there is pulling that particular trolley, but the idea being really that I won't really be using it. It might be just used in background. I just use him as a regular infantryman, or more likely I'll actually take the rifle and trim it out of his hands or hand and use him as a guy operating the gun. So the figures themselves, happy to report, no problems at all. Painted up rather nicely, no hassles doing it at all. They were a pleasure to paint, I have to say. So from that perspective, no issues to report there. However, the guns, there's the gun there. I just remove these lads out of the way for a moment, just to make that a little bit easier for you to see. The guns were a little bit problematic, I have to say, and even if you look at that gun, if you're familiar with a 75mm pack howitzer, you'll notice a few little discrepancies there on that. The plastic was very brittle, perhaps brittle isn't the right word, but it just was very hard to work with for such a small little piece, with just so few pieces. I've never felt I've been so close to taking a model and just smashing it on the ground. I think the last time that happened to me I was probably 9. But all three of the guns were problematic. The little the holes for things to go into, I had to open them out with a blade. Then you try to put it together. It's a bit of a disaster. Where the gun kind of clips onto the axle there, the little kind of hook little piece, or whatever you want to call them, kind of click-in pieces on each gun, all three, so that's 6 pieces, because there's 2 pieces to each trail, of course. All 6 broke, and the little aiming sight thing there as well, one of those broke, so one of my guns is missing one of those. It just went to pieces. There was little pieces here that were supposed to be in between the 2 trails. It's supposed to kind of support bars or something. I had to leave out several bits. It was just too finicky and just too much hassle, and they literally broke in my hands. They broke coming off the sprue. Even using a very good quality scalpel to try and get them off, it was just a bit nightmarish. Now, having said that, once they're together, they look okay. I mean, they're fine. I never worry too much about guns as long as there's not a ball of glue with a gun barrel and 2 wheels sticking out the end of it, and that's not the worst. It's for wargaming, so I'm not going to be overly finicky. I may base these, which is kind of something I don't normally do, just to kind of dress it up a little, but sure, look, we'll see how that goes. You can even see back here where this little part here is different. It should be kind of underneath it, but that was just the most practical way of doing it once those pieces had broke on me and that kind of thing. Now, as regards to crewing the gun, I mean, you can set it up whatever you like. There's the guy with the shell. There's the guy kind of feeding it in, like that, and there is a gun commander here. Now, I do rapid fire, so it kind of stipulates roughly 4 figures per gun. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to use this guy, whoops, if he'd stand up, as the guy actually firing the gun. He should probably be the other side, but you get the general idea of it, or the general gist, as we say in Tipperary. So that's basically what you'll end up with, is something akin to that. Now, as I've often said, I'm not the greatest modeler, and this gun proves it. And I'm not the greatest painter. But at the end of the day, look, they're for wargaming, and I'm happy enough just to show you guys how I get on with things, and let you make your own decisions after that. But I must say the figures are lovely. They're really nice. I've compared them to a few other British paratroops that I have in 176 and primarily 172 scale, such as the Airfix, the Revel, the Esky, two types of Esky paratroopers, and a few other bits and pieces, the Italeri anti-tank teams as well, because I'm putting together a battalion for rapid fire purposes. For kind of a market garden kind of a scenario, so that is what these guys are going to be getting involved in. But anyway, as I say, the figures are great. The guns, not so much fun, but you'll get them together. I mean, you know, as I say, there are better modelers than I out there, and you're probably one of them. But at the end of the day, as I say, it wasn't a fun build from the perspective of the gun itself. But look, it's done. I only need the 3 of them, and that's basically what you're looking at. So from that perspective, you know, I'm happy enough. I won't be rushing out to put any more of those 75mm pack howitzers together unless I really have to. But at the same time, I think the figures are really nice, and as well as that, of course, you can utilize those figures with other guns as well. I mean, you could easily use those as 17-pounder crew or 25-pounder crew, or you know, something of that nature. Even from a captured weapon scenario, you could stick a Pack 40 inside there. I don't think anyone would know the difference. Now, I mean, if you were being really, really pedantic about it, you could trim out those shells and put in the correct shells, which you can obviously purchase aftermarket sends from various sites for various different guns if you wanted to. But that's up to yourself. I certainly wouldn't be going to those extremes. But at the same time, it is possible to do so should you so wish. But at the end of the day, lovely figures. Gun, you know, it turns out okay, but it's a bit of a heartbreaker, or a melt breaker, as we say here in Tipperary. But anyway, that's basically it, guys. Would I recommend the kit still based on that, or the set, should I say? Yeah, I would, actually, to be honest with you. It's worth it for the figures alone, I think. And I really like that guy with the binoculars. I think he's great. And the standing guy there is kind of versatile, because you can use him as an infantryman, you can use him towing that little carriage, or obviously you could use him as a gun crew member. So from that perspective, they're great. But as I say, the gun, I wouldn't be in a hurry to do that again. But I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't let it kind of, you know, if you're kind of into, you're making little kits and bits and pieces like that, and you have a bit more experience than I, or a bit more patience perhaps, I'd say go for it. Just a very sharp scalpel, a lot of patience, and you know, away you go. So that's basically it, guys. That's my review on the Waterloo 1815 British Paratroopers with pack howitzer. There it is there. Final look at the artwork as I drop the box. But basically, if I just elevate myself here a little bit, I think it's worth it. So look, I leave it to your own discretion, but that's my experience of it. I hope that helped some little bit. So if you'd like and subscribe, check out any other videos that I have up. They'd be greatly appreciated. 1 or 2 other projects coming your way in relation to British Paratroopers soon, plus a few other bits and pieces as well. So we will talk to you then, guys. Take care. All the best for now.